Jesus girl. Jesus girl. Hey, it's the diary of a Jesus girl. Let the wings of the Spirit of the Lord just swirl. You are in it, but you know you're not a part of this world. And for the swine, you should never cast your pearl. Yes, it's just the diary of a Jesus girl. The diary of a Jesus girl. Welcome to the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast, where we discuss real-life issues of the committed Christian woman. This podcast will inspire you to love Jesus and impact lives like Jesus. And now it's time for your host, Crystal Day, award-winning author, speaker, and Christian coach.
Welcome back to the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast with yours truly, Crystal Day. Woo-hoo. Listen, it's been a moment. It has been a moment. And I am firstly going to say sorry for my OG listeners that you have not heard from me in a while. But I'm sure you would have been keeping abreast of what's going on. So I've been doing YouTube. I've done a few, right? I'm still on Facebook, Instagram, very active. But you have not gotten a podcast from me in a while. And I am here to just kind of catch you up on what's happening, but also to just make an announcement, right? And let me just catch you up what's going on. So again, it's been a moment that I've done podcasting. Of course, I hope that you are aware that I would have launched my own talk show, DayeLight Show, and that has been airing on MTM Tv, which is the #1 Caribbean gospel station, TV network in the Caribbean, and that has been excellent. We are on week 7, and it's been a blessing. It has truly been a blessing. If you have not gotten a chance to watch the DayeLight Show, it is available on YouTube. You can watch a replay on YouTube. Just type in the DayeLight, DayeLight, the DayeLight Show, and with Crystal Day, and you'll see come up. So go and catch up on that, right? Also, this year has been pretty interesting to say the least. This year has been pretty interesting to say the least. I think the beginning of the year, of course, all of us start in the beginning of the year, new me, I do the whole to show up big webinar every year, and I'll continue. We have the purpose plan, and you just start the year hopeful. We all start the year hopeful, and of course this year, we had unmovable faith. That was our planner theme for this year. So started the year hopeful, but of course life happens. At the beginning of the year, one of my mentees, Sanjay, she died, and at 21, so that was a little bit really rough, because she was one of the authors from my book, The Living a Raw Reality Teen Edition, and I started, full blocks planning the Reach Millions Author Live, which was held June 30th and July 1st, and also the Kingdom Author Success Conference. So, I really just literally took the 6 months planning those events, ensuring that the events were executed in excellence. We had the persons that were attending had amazing time. Of course, planning an event comes with a lot of warfare, it comes with a lot of pushing, it comes with a lot of just things to figure out, especially when you don't see the finances. Like, God is giving you these big dreams and you don't see the finances. So it can be overwhelming. Of course, in between that, my daughter was preparing for PEP exam, and I think I shared this also. So, preparing for PEP in grade 6 as a mother, it almost like she's going to classes 7 days a week, and it feels like you are going classes 7 days a week. And also now she started high school at my alma mater, the Convent of Mercy Academy Alpha. And I feel like things are mellow out. And of course, in between planning my event, I was also recording all the episodes for the talk show, trying to find guests, makeup, all of these things. And even though I knew I could be podcasting in between, I just I just did not want to stretch myself. And, I did a podcast series called, just the Superwoman syndrome. And I just managing that Superwoman syndrome. And I just decided in that moment that I didn't want to be Superwoman, trying to do everything, trying to be everywhere, show up as best as I can to serve the clients as best as I can. But I didn't want to be all things to all men, So, I had to be doing that. Also, in between that, you're still trying to just find your own rhythm with the Lord, finding my own relationship with the Lord, keeping, the main thing, because Jesus is the main thing. And serving God is the main thing. So, really trying to do that. My brother also graduated from the Navy. That was a blessing. I did cry as I watch him, just doing this amazing generational curse moment, our generational blessing moment also for us as a family. So that was a blessing. I spent my summer overseas with my family. I love my family. When I feel depleted, when I feel down and out, spending time with my mom and my stepdad and my sisters, and my family always rejuvenate me and get me back up into spirit. And of course, I've been doing my accelerator clients. We did 2 accelerator program cohorts this year, along with 2 author CEO cohorts this year, and I've been publishing. So I've been busy. It's not like I know that even though you guys have not seen me on the podcast or not heard me, not heard me on the podcast, you guys know that I'm still busy working and I'm still busy doing. But to be honest, another reason why I've not been podcasting, because I've been feeling like the season for Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast has been over. And I've been feeling that it has been over from last year, probably. And I did a poll to rename it the Ambitious Jesus Girl podcast. And it felt like a lot of persons didn't want me to change, even though I wanted to change direction. Like in my spirit, I wanted to change direction. Like I believe that the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast was amazing. I mean, I'm so shouting out the amazing downloads, every week, every Thursday, we would have had podcasts consistently for 3 years. And for me, if you know me, I struggle with certain changes, and that's the reality. I like things to be the same. My friends will tell you that when I go out to a restaurant, I order the same things most of the time. It's either pasta. Like I'm pretty standard with the things that I do. I cook the same things most of the time. Every now and then I step out of the box and try something new, but I'm normally somebody that likes to be safe and like to keep what's working without changing. And even though I kept Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast, even though in my spirit, I wanted to do something else with the podcast, it just wasn't working, or it wasn't falling into place. And persons were saying that I should change it, and it just kept going. And I just realized that I no longer had a passion for podcasting as I used to. And again, I've been doing this consistently for 3 years, nonstop. So when I no longer had a desire or the passion, let me not say the desire, when I no longer had a passion for the podcasting as I did, I recognized that I had to just spend some time away to just process it, and where do I want this to go? And just where do I want this to go? And I am making the announcement that I am closing or I'm ending the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast. Like I did not have a script to talk on this podcast. I literally hit record and just saying, Lord, just speak through me. But I do believe that the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast is now ended. And it is bittersweet for me because, of course, it took me a few years to start podcasting. I really enjoyed podcasting. I had some amazing interviews. And even now when I'm down and I'm driving, even when I'm not down, even when I'm driving out of town or whatever, I play different podcast interviews, from different persons. I love the couple up series. I love the money series. Like the Diary for Jesus Girl podcast, it was just an amazing journey. And to say that you're going to end this journey to start a new journey is a little bit scary, but it's also the right thing to do. That's the best way to put it. It's the right thing to do. It's the God thing to do. It's time for the Diary for Jesus Girl podcast to end. Now, persons may be wondering, now that the podcast is ending, what does this mean? Am I finished with podcasting? No. I love podcasting. I love teaching. I love empowering. I am the millionaire motivator. So you know that I'll continue motivating persons through social media, through my talk show, through speaking, through my books, and also through podcasting. So this means that I am not stopping podcasting. It means that there will be a new name for the podcast with a upgraded mission and a bigger vision for the podcast. And I say upgraded mission because, my podcast has always been, just for women that loves Jesus and desire to impact like Jesus. And that's what the Diary for Jesus Girl is all. It's about talking about topics that people don't want to talk about. It's about empowering people on various topics regarding their Christian walk and to just, have conversations with persons who love Jesus. And so for definitely sure, I don't believe that the Lord wants me to stop podcasting totally. I think that as I've been growing, that the mission has grown, and I believe that there's more that I could be sharing that I've not allowed myself to do, especially in the podcast. I spend, I think, 80% or 85% of the podcasts that I've done has been interview styles. I really do solo episodes, and sometimes I don't do as much solo episodes because when I do look at the stats, they're like, it seems like people prefer the interview styles than they prefer my solo episodes. But then you have persons that would reach out and say, boy, their solo episode, my solo episodes are their favorite. So, instead of thinking about, yes, you want to think about your readers, you want to think about what their listeners and what is it that they want, etc. But also, following what in my spirit I believe that God wants me to do. So I am not going to announce right now when the new podcast will begin. I know it's pretty soon, definitely before the end of the year. Actually, yeah, pretty soon. We'll start the new podcast. I just need to, just spend a little longer just to kind of cement it with the Lord. And then I will make another announcement on when that begins and what would that look like. Of course, for now, you can go on and catch up on all the other podcasts, the podcasts that we have done, catch up on the DayeLight Show, keep connecting with me on Instagram, Facebook, etc. So when the big announcement is made, because this is a global brand, this is a global message that I believe that the Lord wants me to continue sharing, and it has been my pleasure, to serve the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast. And never forget, I was praying about the podcast. What should I name the podcast? I had many names, and one morning I was just walking. And I was just asking the Lord, and I just heard the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast very, very clearly. And I was like, this is it. The diary served me well. I'm sure it served you well. We have over 70,000 downloads in 3 years. Come on, that's a God moment right there. Over 70,000 persons that have listened, that have been blessed, that have been inspired by the podcast. So again, it's just a rebranding, an elevated mission of doing what God has called me to do. And I just want to thank all my faithful listeners, all of my faithful listeners for always cheering me on, praying for me, for always listening, for sharing the podcast, etc. And I'm looking forward to, what this new thing would look like. I'm looking forward to what the new name and the new feel and the new, I wouldn't even say it won't be new topics, but just a new direction that God is going to take this podcast in. So I just want to say thank you. I love you guys loads. This is a quick 50 minutes podcast just to make the announcement that the Diary of a Jesus Girl, it sounds so, like, I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but it sounds so, like, hard to announce, but also I'm excited to know that the mission will continue, but just in a different capacity. So look out very soon for the new name. Tune in. So thank you again for listening. God bless you.
Diary of a Jesus Girl. Jesus Girl. Hey, it's the Diary of a Jesus Girl. So the spirit of the Lord just a swirl. You are in it, but you know you're not a part of this world. And for the swine, you should never cast your pearl. Yes, it's just a diary of a Jesus girl.